Hello everybody, welcome. Today is the 29th of January. This video will be released on February 1st when most of you will be listening. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Emerald. I will be your next millisecond to half an hour worth of entertainment, depending on how long you are willing to listen to me. I'll just say this straight out right now, that this is actually a really stressful thing for me right now. Because I'm not used to this. I am actually really not used to this. And I didn't think it'd be this difficult, but I think it's more the thought process that knowing that every single word that I say is going to be released out onto the internet for everyone to hear. So I'm really scared to say something that people might judge me for, or like think that I'm completely weird for. But I think the first thing I'm going to say might make people think that I'm completely weird anyway, but it's essentially true. But I thought that this podcast would be a fun idea, mainly because I talk to myself. It's a normal thing for me to talk to myself. I do it a lot just in general. And it's really funny whenever someone sees me talk to myself, because they just stop and they just look at me and they go, what the hell are you doing? But they look like they've gone into their own little world, like this guy is weird, but I'm just gonna focus on him for the next millisecond and stuff. And just because I'm talking to myself, like I'm in my own world, I'm making up my own story that I'd rather be a part of than whatever boring, mundane task that I'm doing at the moment, or like whatever I'm supposed to be doing at the moment. Anyway, so I can see these people. I'm not blind whenever I do this. So whenever I see this, I just kind of stop awkwardly, like, oh god, they've been watching me for like they've been staring at me for 5 seconds. So I'm just gonna stare at them back and go, you okay? Hello? You alright? And then they kind of just like shake their head, or they kind of like get like lose their phase, like as if they've been imagining something, like they've been daydreaming, like they can't stop thinking about this weird thing that someone that's like 18 years old or older is talking to themselves right in front of them in public. So they kind of just go, oh, yeah, it's fine. And then whenever it's like someone that I know, like whenever it's one of my friends that would know this kind of thing, I kind of just like, yeah, I talk to myself, whatever, get over it. Jeez, is there a problem with that? And I mainly did it. It's one of those things that never really grew out of me as I grew older. I had a lot of problems growing up. And I know a lot of people can relate to me, but I grew up without having many friends, because I didn't understand how socialism worked. I was kind of anxiety. Is that even a word? I have no idea. But like I really didn't like talking to people. I didn't really know how to talk to people in the first place, and anything I really wanted to talk about, I didn't understand anything they talked about because I didn't watch any movies or anything, but I just had a massive lack of friends. So to keep myself from going insane from the silence of the amount of times I've been by myself, I would talk to myself. It's kind of like having imaginary friends without the imaginary friends, and I kind of just got used to doing that, and it's been such a common formality for me that it kind of just stuck with me throughout the years, and now I'm just here sitting in a room in front of a microphone with no one else around me, trying to have a conversation with an audience who is listening to me, trying to respond to them. If anything, podcasts are, I mean, technically, in this form, podcasts are making people insane. As long as you're listening to someone who's not having a conversation with someone else. If it's a single-person podcast, everyone in that scenario is technically going insane if you thought about it in that aspect, which is obviously wrong. It is obviously wrong, what I just thought. But, when I talk to myself, it's a lot easier to do it by myself because there's no one there to judge me, and it's just me with my thoughts. Because now that I'm recording this, I'm kind of scared, like something bad is going to happen, like I'm gonna mess up. It feels like I'm talking to someone. It actually feels like I'm talking to someone that I've never met before. That's what it feels like. That's what this feels like, and it's actually really scary for someone with anxiety. Well, not really anxiety. I can talk to people once I'm used to them, but if it's someone I've never met before, it's like, hi, like, I'm not used to it. It's very difficult to do this kind of thing to new people. It's like going up to a counter at a food restaurant. It's like if someone else is there that is able to order for me, I'll just turn to them and go, can you order for me? I'd much rather it if you could order for me. And it would sound like a lazy thing, but really it's just a scared thing that, like, half the time I'm scared that I'm going to say the wrong thing. Like, I would go to McDonald's and I'd want a McChicken burger meal like I do every single time. But I feel like if I speak up, I'll probably go, can I have a chicken? Just a whole chicken. Can I have a whole chicken, please? That's not what I want. I know I'm not gonna mess up. I know I'm old enough to not do that kind of thing, but I feel like I will. Like, I feel like I'll mess up at any chance I get. It's kind of like why I'm scared to, like, do any mundane task around the house. I would just look at a dishwasher, and it's something I've done so many times, simply so many times. But whenever I go to pull back the thing, I'm very scared that the weight of the dishes will just push down on the thing and just the whole tray just comes out. And I would hate for that to happen. I asked if someone could make me lunch because I'm scared that I'm gonna mess up my own sandwich. That's kind of what it feels like. I don't even know, like, how normal that is around other people, but that's what it's like to me. That's what it's like to me. It's really funny whenever something like that happens, but it sucks when it's something that you've done yourself. I asked my dad to make myself a cheese and Vegemite toasty sandwich. But what he did was what you do is you spread the butter on one side of the bread and you spread Vegemite on the other side of the bread, and you put the butter outside of the sandwich as you put it in the toaster, and you add cheese to that, and you've got a lovely toasted sandwich. However, my dad accidentally put one of the sides of one of the sandwiches Vegemite side out. So he cooked the Vegemite instead of the butter. That would make it a golden brown, and instead of golden brown, it's a golden black. And it was not appetizing, and he just gave it to me without even realizing. He didn't even know, because when you picked it up from the sandwich, it was on the bottom side, and he never actually looked at the bottom side. He cut the thing and he just gave it to me, and I looked at the bottom and was like, Dad, what the hell? and it's kind of like how I would feel, except after that happened, I'm kind of like, maybe I should be making these sandwiches myself because I know I'm not going to mess this up. But, like, I think it's more of a trust thing. I think it's more of a case of where I feel very close to someone. If I feel really close to you and I ask you to do something for me, it's because I really just don't want to move on from you. Like, I'm getting to the age where I'm going to be moving out into my own house, living by myself with some other person that I've chosen to be with me for the rest of my life, which is a weird concept when you think about it fully, but that's just how it works, I guess. But, like, when I move out myself, I have to do everything myself. So I guess I'm just kind of abusing the power of having parents while I still have them. You know? Because once I move on into the world, it's gonna feel a lot more worse. Just to know that someone's caring for me and someone's looking after me like that is a great feeling. But yeah, back onto the topic of talking to myself. I guess it's one of those things where I know I can do it, but it's a lot harder than I think it is. Like, I thought this podcast thing would be a lot easier, and it's not. I'm surprised I'm being able to that I've managed to last this long, and if I can last this long, then I know I can do it. I just need to like shut everything out. If anything, if it was possible, turn off my computer. No distractions, no nothing. It would be so much easier. But it's one of those things where I thought talking to myself in front of a microphone with no distractions, a small script of dot points to tell me what to go on to, would be fine. But like I tried to do this yesterday and I completely messed up. I lasted 4 minutes. I had to pause it every now and then, and it just did not work. And that's kind of like me with every single other thing that I do, because and that sucks because I have a very creative mind. I would think of something really interesting and I could just not put it into like physical form. Like if someone could invent like a printer that could take the pictures, like the amazing images that I've wanted to draw and paint onto paper or something, if they could just take that image from my thoughts and print it out onto paper as the picture that I thought in my head, that would make things so much easier. I would have OCs and everything just completely put out in front of me, because whenever I have it, I just go over to my artistic friends who can actually draw better than me and say, can you draw this person for me? And I have to describe them my best efforts, because they're just gonna draw what my OC will look like in entirety, and I better hope that what they draw is as close as possible to what I want. Otherwise, I mean, whatever they do is what I have to deal with. But I just can't draw people. I just cannot draw people. It is one of the hardest things I have ever done. And I understand the pain of how some people feel like I can't draw hands. But like some people, like, I can draw hands, but I can't draw them identical. Like, and it's not even that. It's hard to draw like left and right because both hands are different. So I can understand the pains of some people, but I just can't get my hands or my head around anything, especially when it comes to like lead pencil, because I would press too hard onto the paper and it's impossible to erase out. So basically I have to get it like straight on. So I'm really good at like a lot of other stuff. I really enjoy drawing and doing inanimate objects, like, and especially like weapons and backgrounds. Those things are easy for me because I understand how to do those. But when it comes to like actual like figures, when it comes to actual like living things, there's a specific like when it comes to a tree, a trunk is like 2 lines and a swirly thing, if you really wanted to be that basic. Like, trees are the same thing every single time, unless you want to be unique with the type of trees. Like, if you want 2 different type of trees, then they're slightly different, but they're still the same idea. Whereas if you go from, there's a huge difference between going from a human to a cat. There's huge differences, and I just can't get my head around the small, because there's so many more details and there's so many more like steps that you have to take into drawing an actual figure, like fingers and shading and all that other jazz. There's like, it's not that different, but it's a lot more detailed, and it's a lot easier to mess up, if I put in that sentence. And knowing that I am too scared to make make a sandwich for myself, I'm not gonna handle a person very well. So I understand how like objects and stuff, and I actually have done objects and stuff, but I haven't touched art in a long time. But art is something I'm very creatively talented with. But like, basically, I've done 6 years of art through my schooling time. I started in year 7. I started year 7 art, and I've had year 7 art, year 8 art, year 9 art, year 10 art, year 11 art, and year 12. That's 6 years. And I'm going into uni years, and I still don't really know what I'm doing at this point. My life is just kind of like, I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. But out of those 6 years of doing art, I have not really advanced in, well, I have advanced in talent, but I haven't really advanced in major talents. Like, I'm still doing what I'm used to. So like, because for the first 4 years, Well, for the first 2 to 3 years, I would stick to abstract art. I'd take a canvas and I'd just scribble on it. And I'm like, yeah, this is art. People would admire this, right? If I put this up in, like, you look at abstract art in a museum, and it's like, I could do that. And then when you actually do it yourself, you look at it and it's like, oh, wait, how did I find this interesting whatsoever? And like, it's not until you realize that there's an actual like detail and like there's actual like stuff behind an abstract art that makes it so interesting and appealing that people don't actually realize about it. So I kind of just went through those years with an abstract artist approach, and then I moved on to a bit more it was still very abstract-y, but it was also a bit more realistic, but I had to like use actual images on the internet as guides and stuff from there. And then basically from there I moved on to sculpturing, and I've enjoyed sculpturing. I did a sculpture for my major work, except it was too big to actually give in to the Nesser or whatever it is. I don't know. Basically, it was too big. It was way too big, and I already knew that. Like, if there was a way, if I knew how to cut it down to size, I probably would have done that ages ago. But when I made it, it was too big. It was too big, so I had to take photos of it. So yeah. So basically, at this point, what I'm really good at when it comes to art is photography and sculpturing. Is one of the things that I enjoy the most, and I think it's the only things that I'm able to put from my head into an actual item, because there are so many other things. Like, if I actually knew what I was doing with half this stuff, I'd probably be making a lot of other stuff. Like, I have gone through phases where I know that a lot of people like to like sing when they're by themselves, especially like singing in the shower. That's a normal thing, right? That's a normal thing for people to be singing in the showers and everything like that. So except I wouldn't actually sing like actual songs that exist. I would just sing random lyrics half the time and see if anything mixes together. And sometimes I mix like really good words I mix words together and they sound really good, and it's like, damn, these would be really good. So I would try and keep a memory of the words that I just sang, and then I get out of the shower, I get my phone, I open up a note, and I just sit there shooting blanks like, what the hell was I singing 2 minutes ago? I just can't remember, so I just try my best to like recreate them, and I just stare at them like, this is terrible. What am I doing? Like, I hate how I can only think of lyrics when I'm not thinking about it. And then when I'm suddenly thinking about it, like, damn, that's pretty cool. It's like, what was I singing? It's a lot harder. So I congratulate a lot of people on their work, but I'm sure that they had a lot more practice than I have, because I've been all over the shop with everything creative, basically. I've been making up my own lyrics. I've been making up my own characters. It's gotten to the point where I've made my own Hearthstone expansion, like a whole expansion of cards. I'm not even joking. I made an expansion of cards, all unique, that I think that would be really cool and interesting to put into Hearthstone, but I know that I'll never, like, unless I actually go into the effort to learn how to code and learn how to actually work the programs, I am never gonna actually be able to get these cards into Hearthstone. So they kind of just sat on my phone for a long time, all the information, and I shared them with my friend. And he liked them as well. He found some of them really cool and some of them kind of boring. But I mean, a lot of the things, and like, you have to have that balance. Something has to be boring in a game. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. You take any game, and you know that there's something that's like, you think that is completely broken, and then there's something else that you think is completely boring that you would never touch in the game. And when you have to touch it, when you do touch it, you regret everything about it because you lose the game. It's like the difference between a really strong gun and something that just doesn't work. Like the knife. It's like a knife and a gun in a game. It's like, There's a clear difference. You would never touch a knife unless you were really good with a knife. Like, I applaud all those people who are actually really good at the like weak things in a game. Like, if you touch something that's never been seen in a long time and actually make it work, then well done. You are really good at gaming. Get into the pro scene and show everyone how it's done, and then maybe actually everyone will actually like the things you like. Anyway, so it's for me, I find it a lot harder to take something that's in my head and put it out into something. So I just like to be good at something that's already made for me. That's something that I don't have to work on, and I know that's not how it's gonna work in the future, because I actually have to go out into the world and get myself a job and work for myself. And I've already told myself so many things. Like, I've already had ideas for places where I want to work, and I thought this out so well. I thought this out so well. My first thought process was, I am not working in a place that sells food, that I would much rather eat myself. So I would not want to, like, especially how I'm in Australia, I would never touch an ice creamery. I would never want to work in, like, if I said names of, like, Australian restaurants, would people understand what I'm saying? All right, I would never want to work in a Wendy's if people understand what I mean by that. Wendy's is like an ice creamery. But I would never want to work in a Wendy's, especially on a really hot day, because if someone would, I would scoop up the ice cream, I would put it into a cup or a cone, and I'd give it to the customer and like, have a nice day, enjoy the ice cream that I'd much rather be eating myself because it's bloody boiling. Oh my god. Like, I would just not want to give away the food. Like, if anything, if I was the chef behind the scenes, I would just be like eating the food as I cook it, and I'd be like, no, I'm just taste testing. I'm just taste testing. I don't know if if I think it's good, then I'm sure that the customer who's having it will absolutely enjoy it. But that's what I think I would be like in a food restaurant. I am just that hungry all the time. I don't eat very much. And I also don't want a job that requires me to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, because I as a teenager right now, I have the most horrible sleep patterns ever. It's getting me to the point where I'm going to sleep at 2 o'clock at night, so 2 a.m. I'm going to sleep at 2 a.m. and waking up at 2 p.m. That's like one of the most off. That's an off night. That's an off night? Yes, an off night. I'm pretty sure it was an off day, but it's during the night. It's my sleep patterns. I don't know. But I can say right now, it is 11:54 at night. And I know that everyone else is asleep, but I'm just wide awake. I just cannot get to sleep right now. But if anything that required me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, is like, I'd much rather go back to school than to work at this place. If anything. So I don't mind. So basically, I want a job that doesn't require me to work early in the mornings, and something that doesn't have to work with food. So I had the thought process that I like to game, so I would want to work at somewhere like EB Games and all that jazz. But there are a lot more requirements that you need for these jobs. That a food restaurant is basically the best place for you to work, because it's got basic requirements for you to work. You just need to make sure that you're... I don't know. I don't really know the requirements for getting into work. I haven't actually touched on anything yet. I'm still deciding on where I want to start for starters. But I'm pretty sure, like, a lot of people can get an easy apprenticeship into a lot of food places like McDonald's and Hungry Jack's and all that jazz. Like, I hear that it's very common for a reason. It is very common for a reason. I'm getting to the point where I'm running out of things to say. I'll be completely honest here. I am very damn impressed with myself for lasting 24 minutes. But yeah, how should I finish this off? Just continue talking about jobs? Sure, let's just go with that. What else is that? This is the point where I really wish I was talking to someone about this, because this is a big topic that I'd love to talk to someone about. Like, because I'm sure other people would have a better understanding of what jobs there are there, because I am very uncultured when it comes to this stuff. I'd much rather be talking about a bloody movie that's coming out, if I was some reviewist, and hope for the best. Speaking of which, there aren't very many movies coming out that I'm very interested in. Has anybody really seen any good movies, really? Because like because I watch a lot of YouTube, there's a lot of ads for actual movies out there. But whenever I see an ad, I kind of just like want to skip it and watch the actual video that's there. But whenever an ad interests me, a movie trailer interests me, I kind of like to watch it for a bit. But the problem with movie trailers is that it gives you a very brief understanding of what a movie is about. And like, if a movie isn't interesting for me, and especially if it's not interesting for a bunch of other people, then I'm not going to go watch it. I'm actually just not going to watch it. And I really wish that I'd get invited to a lot more other things, or if I actually had the effort to invite other people to movies, because I think I had this process where I do not want to go watch a movie if I'm going to watch it myself. The last time I watched a movie by myself is because I invited 3 other friends, and all 3 of them were unavailable at the time. So I ended up in the movie cinemas by myself. I bought the ticket online, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll just go watch this movie by myself. And I sat in the cinema, and all by myself, and like I couldn't say anything because there was no one to joke around with. Like, you can't say any jokes out loud like I would, but like, obviously I don't want to disturb anybody else that's in the cinema. But it's more of a case, like, you kind of can't help yourself. Whenever you see something that's funny or hilarious, you want to laugh, you want to make a joke, or if anything's just, like, very basic, like, if there's a scene that's nothing real much is happening and it's just a bunch of talking, if something interesting comes out in the conversation that you can make a joke out of, you will not hesitate at the chance to say that to the people that's around you. But I was by myself in a room with basically 2 other families in it. Why? Because it was a My Little Pony video movie. It was one of the Equestria Girls movies. I'm not too into the Brony fandom anymore as I used to be. I haven't watched anything. I haven't seen anything from of My Little Pony for about a year now. Actually, I'm very off it. But basically, the last time I watched a movie, when I was by myself in a room with just 2 other families, I had to sit there in awkward silence, and I really didn't know how I felt, because it also gave me time to just sit there and go, like, I am a grown man watching a My Little Pony movie where the only other people in the room are mothers and little children that are about 4 years old. It felt so awkward, so I'm just like, you know what, screw this. I am never watching a movie again unless it's actually with friends. And I think that's like the best way to enjoy a movie, is with other people. So I'm not gonna go watch a movie if nobody else is gonna watch it with me. But like, my family isn't a big movie family. Like, we don't go out to watch movies very often. So I ended up living under a rock for most of my life. Yeah, my life is pretty depressing. Let's just move on from that. But I didn't end up watching very many movies, and it's kind of gotten to the stage where I kind of want to watch movies. I'm actually getting bored. Like, there's not much for me to do anymore. School is out, and I have a bunch more friends now than I used to. But like, right now there isn't very many interesting movies out there. Like, I think The Commuter has come out, and it's interested me like that. Like, I would like to watch The Commuter. I think it's pretty interesting. Then there's the Jumanji video. The Jumanji movie It just, apparently it's not very good. Well, as in, it's not as good as the original, apparently, from what I've heard. Even then, I wouldn't know because I don't really care. It's not something that interests me. Even though it's like a bunch of characters who have gone into a video game, it looks nothing like a video game, in all honesty. The difference between the actual video game and Jumanji is completely out there. And then there's all these other animations. I think I might end up watching Pixar's Coco. Is it even by Pixar? I don't even know. I'm trying to do this all from memory. But yeah, there are so many movies out there, but like, none of them have really interested me yet. So once one of them actually interests me, then I'll jump at the chance of asking a friend or my family to go out and see it, and hope for the best. Oh my god, I actually lasted half an hour. Thanks so much for listening. I'm gonna end it here. To explain the name quickly, I was planning on doing this as a New Year's resolution, but I didn't actually end up thinking about it or started doing this until halfway through January. So I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to wait until February, upload the first episode, and call it January doesn't exist. Because, you know what? Just screw January. All the memes in January have not interested me whatsoever. Nothing in January has... I just want to ignore January right now. I think there's a bunch of cats fighting outside. I should end the video. Anyway, January doesn't exist. Start the movement. See you later, guys.